Day 12. Yesterday, I gave you permission to look for patterns, and I gave you a safeguard in the same breath. Today, the safeguard becomes the practice. Welcome back. I'm Dr. Rivka Edery. I'm the author of Spatial Psy.D. Let's talk about disconfirmation, trying to kill your own finding. I want to be honest with you about what I'm asking, because I think most teachers in this field would soften it, and the softening would cost you everything. I'm asking you to take the thing you're most pleased about, the recurrence you noticed last night, the one that made you sit back and feel like this might actually be working, and to attack it deliberately with real effort and to mean it. Not to hold it lightly, not to stay open, to go looking in earnest for the evidence that would destroy it. This is the least natural thing this method will ever ask of you, and I'm not going to pretend otherwise. Nothing in you wants to do it. Every instinct you have says that a finding is a fragile thing that ought to be protected while it grows. But here is the plain fact, and it does not bend. Anything of yours that survives day 30 will be worth having only because you tried to kill it and failed. That is the whole of today. Let me name the difficulty precisely, because if I pretend it's easy, you will conclude I've never done it. What you want is for the pattern to be real. Of course you do. You have put in 11 days. You've been bored. You have doubted the whole enterprise. You've sat through day 8 and kept going anyway. And now there's finally something on the page that looks like a result. You want it to hold. And what the method asks is that you spend your effort trying to demonstrate that it does not hold. Understand what an unusual demand that is. In almost every part of life, you're permitted to advocate for your own conclusions. And here, you're required to prosecute them. And there's nobody watching. That is the part that makes this a genuine test of character rather than procedure. No one will ever inspect your notebook. No one will know if you wrote a disconfirmation you knew was too weak to bite. No one will know if you noticed a counterexample and quietly declined to write it down. The only person who can be defrauded here is you, and you are also the only available auditor. So I'm not going to appeal to your discipline. I'm going to appeal to your self-interest because it points the same way. If you protect the false pattern now, you don't get to enjoy it. You get to build 18 more days on top of it and then discover on day 30 that everything you constructed rests on something that was never there. Or worse, you never discover it and you walk out of this course with a confident, elaborate, beautifully documented delusion and you use it. The cheapest possible moment to find out if you're wrong is right now. Here is the principle, and it is the sentence I want you to carry through the rest of phase 2. A finding is not something you noticed. It is something that survived. Noticing is free. That's the trouble with it. Anyone can notice anything. And as we established on day 8, the mind will reliably notice things that are not there, and it will hand them to you with the full, warm conviction of a genuine perception. Noticing costs nothing and therefore proves nothing. Survival is expensive. Something that has survived an honest, competent, motivated attempt to destroy it has told you something that no amount of noticing ever could. It has told you that it is not merely available to your mind, but resistant to it. And that expense is not a regrettable overhead. The expense is the value. The reason a surviving finding means something is precisely that so many candidate findings do not survive. that the process has teeth, that it kills things, that it is capable of taking something away from you. You already know this argument. It is the smoke detector and the lexicon's new scores and the boring weak. It has been the same argument every time, and here it is in its final and most demanding form. A test that you could not fail, you cannot inform you. Let me say that again. A test that could not fail you cannot inform you. If it couldn't fail you, how is it going to inform you? So the question is never, does this pattern seem right? The question is, what have I done to it, and did it hold? Let me show you this happening to me, because I would rather demonstrate the discipline than lecture you about it. This is from my own practicum, and it is the book, and it is in the book, Spatial site. Mid-morning, I registered an image. It was a small wood-fed bonfire, and I did everything correctly. I locked it in writing with hit criteria and a 90-day window. That's a real registration. It was specific. It was recorded before interpretation, and it made a claim that the world could contradict. By evening, I understood the image differently, not as a prediction of something I would later encounter, as part of a single present tense signal, an instruction to attend to something already in front of me. Now, stop and look at the position I was in, because it is exactly the position you will be in this week. I had a registration on the page. I had a new understanding of it in my head, and the new understanding was, I believed, correct. And the new understanding also happened to be one that can never be scored. A present tense instruction has no window and no hit criteria. It cannot miss. If I simply let the meaning slide from the first thing to the second, I would have converted a falsifiable prediction into something that could never be wrong. And I would have done it sincerely, believing I was being more accurate rather than less accountable. That is the exact moment where every honest practice in the world either holds or quietly dies. So what were my options? Under this method, I had exactly two honest options and one forbidden one. Option 1, keep it. Leave the thread open as registered, as a bonfire, as a prediction with its 90-day window, and let it score as a hit or miss when the window closes. That is honest. It may embarrass me. That is what makes it honest. Option 2, void it. Decide in writing, dated the same day, that it was never a prediction. Remove it from scoring entirely. Also honest. Provided it is done immediately in ink and on the record. That is what I did. The entry in my log reads, original registration morning, void decision same day. Reclassified as present tense guidance. No hit or miss scoring applies. Notice what that entry does. It does not hide anything. Anyone reading my log can see that I registered a bonfire, that I changed my mind about what it was, that I did so within hours, and that I removed it from scoring rather than letting it quietly become unfalsifiable. The decision is dated. It is audible. You can audit it. Someone could accuse me of having voided it too conveniently, and they would have the evidence in front of them to make that case. That is what a clean void looks like. It leaves a mark. And then the third path, the forbidden one, leave it vague. Let the thread stay ambiguous so that it can resolve either way later. Do not decide today what kind of claim it was, and thereby keep both exits available. That is the path this method forbids absolutely. And I want you to understand why it is worse than simply being wrong.